the day. When you get an opportunity in this game, you make a play. The playmakers on three. 1, 2, 3.
Touchdown, Kansas City! The Chiefs are right in the thick of it, baby!
Hello, Kingdom Defenders. Welcome to this edition of Defending the Kingdom. Mitch Holthus with you, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. It is the AFC Championship game, and the Chiefs will host this game for the 5th consecutive time. And think about this in the history of the franchise, 58 seasons it would have been from 1960 to 2017, whether it's the Dallas Texans or at Municipal Stadium or the early days of Arrowhead, that this game was never hosted at any time for almost 6 decades. And now the Chiefs at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium will host this for a National Football League record 5th consecutive year.
It's unbelievable. It's just crazy. I remember back in 2018 how excited we were to be hosting one of these. Like, wow, we're hosting the AFC Championship game. We are one win from the Super Bowl. And to think that we've done that every single season since then is just remarkable, and we can't take it for granted. I mean, on one side, we have a standard now, right? We expect to be in this game every single year. But at the same time, you cannot take it for granted because this is truly unprecedented. This has never happened before, where one team has hosted the AFC title game or just a title game, even the NFC title game, 5 consecutive years. Just an amazing opportunity, once again, for the Chiefs. This is where we thought we'd be when the season first began, but you can't take it for granted.
And we don't care if it's the AFC Championship game or the first day of OTAs. We always go around the world on Defending the Kingdom. What do you got?
Yep, so I've got 8 of them today. Could be
8.
Chad Henne times 2. Could be Carlos Dunlap, maybe.
I like that one. He got his first ever NFL playoff victory after 13 seasons of playing in this league. And I made sure I found him and gave him a hug because after someone who went 21 seasons and before winning a first playoff game, for him to win that game, he was excited. But his first reaction was, we got to get the next one.
Yeah.
And the next one is the team that he has played the bulk of those 13 years with in the Cincinnati Bengals. So I love it. You've got 8.
Yeah.
Hey, for Carlos Dunlap.
Yeah, we've got 8 today. So Ray is in Arizona. Marcus is in Germany. Sawyer is in Sunrise, Florida. And they suggested we do longer shows.
Wait a minute, Germany. Now, of course, we're very involved in Germany now. Germany? We're not going to narrow it down?
Yeah, just Germany for now. Yeah, Marcus, where in Germany are you?
Yeah, we need to know. And hopefully you're from my roots, which is Bruchhausen-Wilson, which is north. So anyway, yeah, near Bremen.
So my heritage is like half Irish, obviously, McMullen, half German. I've kind of gone with the Irish side because of my last name, but I don't know where my ancestors are from in Germany.
We're going to find out. We are going to find out.
Yeah.
And yes, so you've into German ancestry. That's my maternal side. Half of it, my paternal side, all of it, but we've traced it back a little, my paternal side, to Bruchhausen-Wilson.
Okay.
So, yeah, about 30 kilometers, Ochtenreisig, south of east of Bremen.
Okay. We got to go there.
Let's go.
Well, Marcus, let us know where in Germany you're listening. We have Sawyer in Sunrise, Florida, and Sawyer wants us to do longer shows, doesn't want us to keep making these only 30 minutes. And we could totally do that. I mean, you and I could do this for like 3 hours.
We could.
It feels like we have to cram it all into 30 minutes, but maybe we'll make some longer shows in the future. Ryan is in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's fun to say. Bria is in Fort Worth. Jim is in Barstow, California. He's originally from Kansas City, moved to Barstow for the Army, and was there for 30 years in the Army, but still a huge Chiefs fan. And we also have a listener in the Philippines. And then Nick is from the United Kingdom. He's a new fan to the Kingdom. He met a couple from Wichita on a cruise last year. They got him into the Chiefs, and then he got them into Helen's Rugby League, or Helen's Rugby Team in a rugby league in the UK, and both teams are crushing it. So Nick joined at the right time.
That's awesome. And I've got one actually from Poland.
Okay.
And I want to get this right. I think it's Wrocław, Poland. But how do you get Wrocław out of W-R-O-C-L-A-W? What would you think? I mean, you grew up in Kansas City. You would think.
Well, here I am pronouncing, Nevada. I mean, I can't even begin.
But that's a kingdom thing, right? But I guess it's the same point. Or Iowa, or Miami's Miami, right? Or our Kansas City's not Arkansas City, it's our Kansas City. But this is W-R-O-C-L-A-W, Poland, but it's Wrocław. And the family, I want to get this right, an amazing new Chiefs Kingdom family in Eastern Europe. But I think it's let me get this, I don't want to goof this up. It is the Radomska Radomska family. So Kingdom Defenders in Poland.
I love it. That's amazing stuff. We're expanding by the day.
Well, we're trying to expand to get another Lamar Hunt trophy. If the Kansas City Chiefs can beat the red-hot Cincinnati Bengals, the Chiefs will win the Lamar Hunt trophy for the third time in 4 seasons after having never won it. Remember, the AFC Championship trophy is named after the founder of the Kansas City Chiefs franchise. But that didn't start until the mid-'80s. And the Chiefs didn't win it, haven't won it up until the 2019 season, then won it in 2020 and hope to bring it back after last year's loss to the Cincinnati Bengals in this game.
Yeah, it has me thinking about 2019, being on the field for that moment after we'd won the game and the confetti was flying. I remember just walking around like manically laughing, just like this is the best day of my life. It's just unbelievable being a Chiefs fan my whole life, and I'm pretty young, right? A lot of other people suffered through a lot of tough years, and to witness that was just remarkable. 2020, it was a little bit different, still amazing, but a little bit different just because of COVID protocols. Couldn't be on the field for it all.
It was a little weird. It was just weird.
Yeah, I mean, still an amazing accomplishment, but a little bit different for the fan side of it. But 2019 was just incredible, breathtaking, and to now be in a position where we can hopefully do that again. It's right there. It's pretty exciting.
Did you, because you have your beautiful wife, Ellie, did you ever discuss with her that winning the 2019 Lamar Hunt trophy was the greatest thing of your life? Did you ever mention that?
Fortunately, that's before we got married.
Oh,
yeah,
good answer.
Yeah, we were still dating at the time. So now,
nice.
If I had to rank it, getting married was the best day, right? Number 2, I think, was winning the Super Bowl because that was also a deliriously amazing day.
Yeah,
Number 3 would be winning the Lamar Hunt trophy in 19.
Yeah, like I said on the air that day, it was like winning 2 Super Bowls that year because to win that trophy that day at that time, the team that Lamar Hunt founded has just won Lamar Hunt's trophy in the stadium. That was Lamar Hunt's dream. So let's try to do that again, shall we? As we dive in here to this episode of the Chiefs Kingdom that we're calling Funf. For our German fans, or Cinco, right? For our fans that are into Spanish, or 5. And you've got Azerbaijan for 5. Have you ever figured out how do you say it?
I still haven't figured it out. So Mitch has this fascination with Azerbaijan.
I do.
And last night he was texting me about this episode, and he was with no context. I don't know what he's doing at first. He's sending me just all these different variations of 5.
I sent you Japanese for 5.
Yeah.
The signal. Yeah.
Like I thought it was like when you send an emoji and your phone isn't updated enough, so you don't like see the real emoji. You just see like a weird character. But it was Japanese for 5, and then I picked up on it and send you the Azerbaijan way of writing 5. We don't know how to say it yet, though. So if anyone does, let us know.
Sent you French for 5. But we're just going with, just everybody calm down. We're going to go with Funf for our Germans and our German fans and all our fans that love Germany and the Chiefs going together. And, of course, Cinco for our Spanish-speaking Kingdom defenders, and 5 for the English-speaking folks. But it is 5. Funf-Cinco AFC Championship games in a row hosted here at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. And here come the Cincinnati Bengals once again. Truthfully, the hottest team in the NFL. They've not lost since Halloween. They were very complete in their domination, really, of Buffalo, which I think stunned everybody in their victory in the divisional playoff round.
Yeah, it sure was. They've won 10 straight, as you alluded to. And, yeah, I think everyone, including us, was expecting kind of a game that maybe could go to overtime, a game where it would be back and forth between the Bills and the Bengals, and that wasn't the case. The Bengals raced out to a 14-0 lead and really never looked back. They dominated the Bills really in every aspect of that game, and they're hungry. That's obvious. And one thing that we've seen from them really in the last 2 years, and definitely saw it in that Bills game, is they are not afraid to be physical. They want to be the more physical team. They want to be the more aggressive team. And something I'm going to hit in this podcast today over and over again, it is imperative for the Chiefs in this game to not just match but exceed that physicality and that aggression throughout this game, because the Bengals feed off that.
I think it's the first, well, maybe the second paragraph, because the first paragraph of this story, of course, is what everybody's asking, from Wrocław, Poland, to Azerbaijan, to, I don't know, Nevada, Missouri, and that is Patrick Mahomes' ankle. And we appreciate all of you who have reached out with the interest in sacrificing of giving your ankle to Patrick. What a heartfelt thought of you sacrificing your ankle. But let's don't go there. Let's go to a place where, and I knew it was going to be a week of people saying, gosh, I think he's on his last breaths. Or my uncle's cousin's realtor saw Patrick riding a skateboard down the street. I mean, that's what you get in these weeks.
Yeah.
And you don't just get it locally, you get it nationally, because everybody wants to know. And I've told people we won't know until we know. But it has been a peculiar week. But what I do know, Matt, is that, one, Andy Reid is the most forthright coach I've ever been around in my brief time in sports in a big-time, high-profile situation when it comes to injuries. He may not tell you everything, but he won't tell you a fib. 2, and that's just part of his character. 2, Patrick Mahomes is surrounded by dozen people, whether it's Rick Burkholder's staff, the athletic training staff, or the 6 team doctors, or some of their folks. He is surrounded by some of the best in the business. And they have dedicated their lives over the last 96 hours to, even more time, 120 hours, to get Patrick ready to play. That's what I do know.
Yeah, absolutely. And another part of this that is kind of funny is every single person that has ever had an ankle sprain or has an ankle attached to their body has chimed in on this on Twitter. It's like, well, listen, my uncle had a high ankle sprain, and he took this long to recover.
Yep. I was in West Side Story as a 7th grader, and during rehearsal, I had that same injury. I couldn't go to the next rehearsal.
Yeah, as if it's just a blanket term and there's not grades of severity and, everyone's the same. But what we do know as well is we're recording this on Wednesday. Patrick Mahomes met with the media today, and he said it's doing good, referring to the ankle. I got a few days of treatment and rehab. I'm excited to get on the practice field and try it out, but it's feeling good so far. So we're recording this before practice. We'll see how practice goes, but for all intents and purposes, that's good news at this point in the week. I think the early part of the week, it's tough because all you have is people that maybe aren't close to the situation chiming in on it, and that creates mystery and confusion. The man himself said he feels pretty good, and Coach Reid said he was in a good place yesterday. So that's all we know, and we'll take their word for it.
And you know what? I've learned from being around Patrick Mahomes since 2017 and Andy Reid since 2013, taking their word for it is a pretty good way to take things. That's usually the way to go. All right, let's just jump into the football part of this. We mentioned Cincinnati being hot, and you talked about being physical in this game, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. That's the second paragraph of this game. In an ancillary thought here with that is that there are some games, and you and I have talked about this down through the years, where some games where the first second of the game has the intensity of the last second of the game. And this is one of those because the Cincinnati Bengals, in their recipe for this 10 straight victories, has been to knock people out. It's like the wrestler in high school or college, which is a fascinating sport, that goes for the pin in the first period. They have outscored the Cincinnati Bengals in the last 5 games, have outscored their opponents 46-0 in the first quarter. But down through the season, the Cincinnati Bengals only allowed 22 points from enemy offenses in their first possession. Only Dallas was better throughout the year. So it's not just the last 5 weeks, but even when Cincinnati started 0-2 and has gone on a tear since then, that this is a team that hits the ground running from the get-go. And look what they did to Buffalo.
Yeah.
They hit them in the nose before Buffalo had a chance to catch a breath.
Yeah.
And so the Chiefs have to be ready from the first second of this game.
That intensity reminded me of something. It reminded me of the wild card game between the Oakland A's and the Royals back in 2014. And what I remember about it, that was the first time the Royals were in the playoffs in my entire life. And I was there, and I was so excited. And James Shields was the pitcher for the Royals. And the first pitch of the game was a strike. And you could hear everyone in the crowd losing their minds as if it was the 9th inning and he was the closer,
Yeah.
And that's how the Bengals treat these games.
Yep.
They treat every single game like the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes, and they knock people out. And we saw them do it to a very good Buffalo Bills team, and the Bills were ambushed. I think the Bills thought they were going to go into that game. They were favored to win. I think a lot of people thought they would roll in that game, and the Bengals said, no, we're here. And we're not affected by the snow. We're not affected by any of this. Missing some offensive linemen. We don't care about any of it. And they went out, and it was, frankly, surgical. So the positive news for the Chiefs is they are not going to be ambushed in this game. They're expecting that from the get-go. And I think a hot start, considering the circumstances of everything, is so important for the Chiefs in this game. Ideally, the Chiefs will win the toss. They'll defer, get a 3-and-out from the Bengals offense, then go down and score if you're the Chiefs offense. That would be the ideal start for the Chiefs here in this one because the Bengals, that's how they get rolling. They get off to a hot start, and then you're trying to play catch-up the entire time. The Bills just ran out of gas trying to do that. And for the Chiefs in this game, you do not want to be playing catch-up. You want to have the upper hand throughout the game.
Yeah, Burrow started 9 of 9 in that game against Buffalo and had 6 different receivers catch those 9 passes. Sounds very Mahomes-ish. And this is a Bengals offense, 5th in the last 8 games of the regular season. They were 5th in points scored at 232 points. And we know the weapons they've got with Jamar Chase. T. Higgins has been very underrated. He's had a great year this year. Hayden Hurst they picked up, really good pickup at tight end, Tyler Boyd. But here's where I think they ambushed the Buffalo Bills. They ambushed the Buffalo Bills by running right at the Bills. Joe Mixon had a great game with 20 carries, 105 yards. Samaje Perine. These are two backs that are big, 225, 230, 235. Mixon didn't play against the Chiefs on January the 4th. Perine last year had the biggest play you've forgotten about, maybe, or maybe you haven't forgotten about, with the Chiefs up 21-3 to get a 41-yard screen pass for a touchdown. They're both hard to tackle. And I talked about this with you early in the week. Don't buy the whole, oh my gosh, it's the backup offensive lineman and we had to go on practice squad to find these guys at a garage sale.
Yeah.
Can we stop that? Stop it. At right tackle is Akeem Adeniji, who played here in this area at the University of Kansas, was all Big 12. He played in all of the playoff games last year for the Bengals on their run to the Super Bowl, including winning in Kansas City. So can we stop that? And the right guard is Max Sharpring, who has got like the second most playoff starts on their offensive line. So let's just stop that as well. And then Karras is really good in the center, at the center position, where he's won 2 Super Bowls with New England and was runner-up in another one. So let's just stop all of the, oh my gosh, I don't know how we even did it with this offensive line. This is a group that's seasoned, they've played, and they're physical. And that goes back to the point of the Chiefs having to exceed the intensity of this this Cincinnati offense.
Yeah, if you go back and watch the Bills-Bengals game, watch the line of scrimmage. Watch the offensive line of the Bengals against the Bills' defensive line, and they just dominated all day long. And the best way to get an offensive line in a groove is to run the football, and the Bengals did that with tremendous success. Between Mixon and Perine, they rushed for 138 yards against Buffalo. Just those two guys. I think they had like 170 yards rushing as a team. Mixon and Perine combined to average 5.1 yards per carry. The Chiefs cannot let that happen. We talk all about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and their passing attack, which, yes, is very good, but when they run the football effectively, they are very, very, very difficult to stop. Now, if you want an example of how you can slow them down, because everyone's talking about last week against the Bills, and understandably so, but look, 2 weeks ago, against the Ravens, Mixon and Perine combined for just 42 yards on the ground on 13 carries. And then all of a sudden, it was a close game. The Bengals had to throw the ball a whole bunch. The pass rush got going on Joe Burrow. That's the game plan for the Chiefs. Not what happened last week. Whatever the Bills did, don't do that. Throw that out. You want to be physical and dominate up front. And the Ravens did that. The Ravens were not scared. They were not intimidated. And that's the attitude the Chiefs need in this game.
Yeah, the Ravens sacked Joe Burrow 4 times in that game and needed a 98-yard scoop or fumble recovery by Sam Hubbard, or the Bengals might not even be in this game.
Yep.
So give them credit. And this is a really good team, but you're right, to be physical with them and to take the fight to them. Don't react, but be proactive in being physical with this Cincinnati team. It's interesting in this game, these two quarterbacks, and we've seen a lot of Burrow, Mahomes comparisons. And don't forget, when you see all these comparisons, when they say the first 3 seasons of Herbert, who's really good, or the first 3 seasons of Joe Burrow, who's really good, or the first – stop it. Mahomes didn't play his first season. It's not an apples-to-apples comparison because he's got 5 playoff victories. Joe Burrow does, which is great. I mean, that's a Cincinnati record when you look at Boomer Esiason and others so awesome, and they're going like most in his first 3 seasons. Well, think of what Patrick Mahomes did in his first 3 years as a starter. He had 1 his first year. He gets 3 his second year. That's 4. In his third year, he gets, 2 more that year. He's got 6. So really, to apples, when they both played 3 years as the starting quarterback, Mahomes and Joe Burrow wins this game, he'll be equal Mahomes at 6.
Yeah. If you think about Mahomes' career, as a starter, he's never finished shy of the AFC title game at home. That's bonkers, right? And I think as a society, as a national, as a global football watching world, for some reason it's been decreed that if a player is good, everyone else must be bad. It's not true. Like, Joe Burrow is really, really good. That's obvious. Patrick Mahomes is really, really good. We think he's the best quarterback in all of football. Now let's go play. I don't understand why we have to create these narratives and everything. Patrick Mahomes is off to the greatest start for any player in NFL history, and he's 27 years old, playing in his 5th AFC title game with an opportunity to go to his 3rd Super Bowl. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that if it was in Madden, you'd be like, you need to up the difficulty because that's not realistic.
Well, it's the year that Patrick didn't play that somehow counts against him when people do the comparisons and they're like, no, that's not an apples-to-apples comparison. It does drive me crazy, and you as well, but a lot of things drive us crazy. What is interesting, though, these two quarterbacks, because they were 1-2 in yards passing this year in the National Football League regular season, and they were 1-2. Burrow had 35 touchdown passes, tied with Josh Allen. Mahomes had 41. That led the NFL. But this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, according to the NFL records, that the two quarterbacks who are number 1 in yards passing and touchdown passes will meet in the championship game since 1943. Sammy Baugh against Sid Luckman.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
I mean, what are the odds of that? Never this happened? I mean, it's just insane. It does go to show that a lot of times when you have a lot of great passing stats, it doesn't always correlate to a great team. That's why I think Patrick Mahomes and what he has done in Kansas City, you and I talk about this all the time, is almost underrated because he has all the numbers and the stats. He led the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns, total yards, almost every category you can think of. He was just remarkable, but he also wins. He's not just a player who's racking up yardage and his team is 9-8 or something. So that's what's so important about him. And also when he is injured in a game, he refuses to come out and leads a team to victory in the divisional round. It's incredible stuff from Patrick Mahomes. It's why he's the MVP of this league. Talking about Joe Burrow, though, what's interesting about him is his average release time. And we talked about this last week when we were looking at Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had the 3rd fastest average release time of any quarterback in the NFL behind Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow gets rid of the football even quicker than Trevor Lawrence does. His average time to throw this season was 2.49 seconds. And he was even faster last week against Buffalo. His average time to throw was 2.46 seconds. We talked about the offensive line. It's overblown that they're all backups, right? They're not all backups. But this is how they've kind of gotten around it being a relatively new group, is just getting rid of the football quickly. And it's worked really well for them. But even though he's getting rid of the football quickly, and his average time to throw last week against Buffalo was 2.46 seconds, that still means on half of his dropbacks, he's holding it longer than that. Mm-hmm. And for the Chiefs in this game, Joe Burrow does not give you a lot of opportunities to get to him. It's intentional. But when he hangs on to the football, when he's waiting for that deep shot to open, or if his first read is covered and he's scanning the field, the pass rush has to get to him. And this was a narrative all off season. Of course, the Chiefs couldn't get to Joe Burrow last year in the AFC title game. This has to be a theme in this one, where consistently we are creating pressure on him when he holds on to the football, and we are bringing him to the ground and forcing them into long second and third down situations and getting them off the field. And that gets back to the physicality and the aggression we need in this game.
Yeah, people see sacks. It's pressure and disruptions, quarterback hits. Chris Jones has been phenomenal this year, and I love the fact now that he's getting real attention about being the National Football League Defensive Player of the Year. And if he doesn't get it, at least being in that discussion with the Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys. But Chris Jones becomes, to me, an example of what you're saying and how you can disrupt this game, even at the very beginning, vestiges of a play. Chris Jones this year had 57 quarterback pressures. That was second to only Dexter Lawrence of the New York Giants or Dallas Cowboys. But the point is, Chris Jones can affect a game so many ways other than just getting sacks, and he allows his teammates to get involved. He's going to get double-teamed in this game. The Bengals are going to do that. But he can knock down passes, affect the physics of the throw. Carlos Dunlap can do the same. We've seen George Karlaftis do it. He did it against Jacksonville. And so just throwing things off a tick and then being able to defend the run game. I mean, so just because you're not going, gosh, we got to get 4 sacks because Burrow, if he gets less than 4 sacks, he's only lost a couple of games. Well, it's a matter of being disruptive and physical in the trenches against these guys.
Yeah, it's more than just the actual sacks, of course. I think that's one of those numbers where it's not really accurate. I mean, if you look at the Bengals pass rush, they're like third to last in the NFL in sacks this year. We're not looking at that defensive line like it's not very good. It's one of the best defensive lines in all of football. So that kind of illustrates what you're talking about. But in this game, what I'm so excited about is the Chiefs' defensive line played really well last week. How about Derek Nottie? with a gigantic play on Trevor Lawrence early in the fourth quarter, I believe. It was the last play of the third quarter.
Chris Jones set that up.
Yeah, Chris Jones was all over the place. He was a monster. The defensive line's playing really well. And in a sense, the entire team elevated their game just a tick when Patrick Mahomes first got hurt and even when he came back in. Everyone did. And what's so important for the Chiefs is to carry that now into this game. We're confident Patrick Mahomes can go out there and play. But we all know what happened last week, right? He's still dealing with that. That's a reality. If everyone goes out there with the same intensity that they had immediately after that injury, it's going to be very difficult for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And Burrow, by the way, I did find the stat here. Since 2021, sacked less than 4 times. We think about that. He's 23-3, 4-8, when sacked 4 more times. But okay, disrupt things, but stop the run game, or at least mitigate the run game. But your point's a good one, because let's go there next, because we don't talk about offensive linemen enough. We've already talked about the Bengals' offensive line. But when Chad Henne came into the game with 1st and 10 at his own 2, and the entire Chiefs kingdom around the world was kind of gasping for air, that offensive line, from right down the line, from Orlando Brown Jr., Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Andrew Wiley, said, put it on us. Give us the backpacks. Give us everything you need to carry to go up the mountain, because we need to elevate our game. And I like what you said, because I've said it as well this week in other outlets, is that mentality by the offensive line at that moment, which said, Chad, we're going to follow us, we're going, is what the mentality needs to be with everybody who's wearing a red and gold jersey in this game.
This is the ultimate team game. It truly is, and we say that a lot, and it might seem cliche. And Patrick Mahomes is the best player in all of football, and he gets the spotlight on him a lot, deservingly so. But when he is no longer in the game, 9 times out of 10, a team is going to wilt, because that's our MVP quarterback. What are we going to do? Our season's on the line. For Chad to come in and for the whole team to respond and answer that challenge immediately on the 2-yard line and drive 98 yards down the field to score a touchdown, and to say, no matter who's in the game, you have to deal with us, and we're going to find a way to get this done with our season on the line. That's why this is a championship caliber team. It's not just the Kansas City Patrick Mahomeses, which he's obviously a big part of everything we do, but he would be the first person to say that. And what I loved is after the game, or after that drive, watch Patrick Mahomes' reaction to Chad Henne. He's losing his mind celebrating. He's the first person to congratulate him. When Mahomes didn't come back into the game immediately, before halftime, he's over there with a tablet talking to Chad Henne, saying, hey, let's look at this. He becomes basically a coach, right? And thank goodness he was able to come back into the game. But the way he handled that was masterful, and it just shows that this is a team. It's not just one guy, and that's why I have so much faith in this group, and that's why I love this team so much.
Yep, and it's why we believe in this team going into this game against the Cincinnati Bengals, because really people are now starting to favor the Bengals, some by as many as, Funf points or Cinco, but the Chiefs are going to try to get the Lamar Hunt trophy back to where it belongs, right here in the Chiefs Kingdom. He's Matt McMullen. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. You can doubt the Chiefs, you can dislike the Chiefs, you can disrespect or whatever, but you're going to have to deal with the Chiefs. And the Bengals will have to deal with the Chiefs.
10, 5, touchdown! Lock it down! And the celebration begins at Arrowhead.